Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Polity Quick Revision series. So in this video, we'll specifically talk about the devices of parliamentary proceedings. So here we'll take a look at some of the devices such as question hour, zero hour, and also we'll take a look at different types of motions here, such as adjournment motion, censure motion, no confidence motion, and so on and so forth. So without any further delay, let's get started. Starred questions are those questions. Basically, it is going to have something like this. Yeah. So it requires an oral answer and hence supplementary questions can follow. Meaning what? If there is a question that has been asked, okay, and beside that question, you see that starred question. Star means what? Generally, it means that there is this something about it or some importance, right? So this requires an oral answer. So you want to ask a question from the minister. I think that was Aishwarya was mentioning this, right? You want to ask a question to the minister. The minister cannot just dismiss it off by saying, his secretary will write a paragraph to explain what the answer is, okay, and then it's done and dusted. No, you have to give an oral answer at the in the floor of the house. And if that is the case, I can cross question you on that. Okay, now this is something. Now that I've mentioned this, now you go back to the kind of questioning that you see in your Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha channels. Right, and then try to see how exactly are the questions asked. Okay, are there sort of supplementary questions that are there? Right, you will notice this. Okay, similarly, but what if there is an unstarred sort of a question? Okay, again, in question hour, there are basically certain sort of different this thing. Okay, so if there is a match the following, what kind of question and what is the explanation of that particular type, then you should know. So unstarred question is those that require a written answer. So it will be provided as a written answer. Okay, and if there is a written answer, then obviously there's no supplementary questions. It is like done and dusted. So for instance, the question can be, as of now, how much of the new sort of a scheme or the money has been allocated as of now? Okay, or it could be some other question that in Jharkhand, what is the sort of situation of the tribals? So give me some COVID numbers in tribal areas or tribal pockets, or something along those lines. So something very specific. Okay, and that is the question that will probably be you'll get a written answer if it's an unstarred question. Similarly, there is also a question that is called a short notice question. Okay, all you have to do is give a notice, okay, of less than 10 days. This is also going to be answered orally. So in addition to the ministers, the questions can be asked to the private members. What is a private member?
Who is not a minister.
A member who is not a minister.
Member who's not a minister. Well, you guys have defined it well. Can the private member be from opposition?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can the member be from the ruling party itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So anybody who's not a minister. So very well put. Okay. So thus a question may be addressed to the private member if the subject matter of the question relates to some bill, resolution, or matter that is associated with that particular person. That member is sort of responsible for it. So the procedure in regard to such question is the same, okay, as that is followed in the case of questions addressed to a minister. Okay, so the starred, unstarred, short notice questions, to private members are printed in green, white. Some methods are there. Okay. Now that is your questions. After this, what did I say? You have question hour, and then you have zero hour. And what is after zero hour? Okay, now here, zero hour is not mentioned in the rules of procedure. Rules of procedure basically explains, there is basically rules of procedure. Okay, now zero hour is something that is out of that. Okay, and it is as an informal device that has been available. And you can raise matters. Why do we have this thing? You can raise matters without any prior sort of notice. Okay, prior sort of notice. Have you, like, in case you've been part of like student government or something like this, you will know that whatever has to be discussed in that sort of meeting, agenda will be already provided. Okay, this will be circulated. Okay, so we will get an email with this is the agenda, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you'll have the press, you'll have the VP, you'll have the secretary, okay, things of this nature, and the members, whatever it is. Okay, and then you have a round table sort of conference, you will have the senators, whatever it is, and then eventually you will have, after the meeting, the agenda prepared by the secretary. It's called the agenda, say, minutes of the meeting. Are you guys aware of these? So let us say there were A, B, C, D, E. These are A, B, C, D, E, 5 different sort of issues, okay, to be discussed and resolved. Okay, and in the minutes of the meeting, we say what has been decided about A, what has been decided about B, what has been decided about C, what has been decided about D, what has been decided about E, right? Are you guys aware of this, or at least now you understand this? I hope so. Okay, so if this is the case, in your agenda, or in that meeting, you generally can't bring up anything new. Okay, and in case you bring up something new, they will just tell you that, okay, so this is to be brought up in the next session. Okay, and you will have a particular process to sort of get it introduced into the agenda for the day. Okay, but here what are we doing? We are using an informal sort of a device to making it available to the members of your MPs to raise matters without any sort of prior notice. Okay, so you have a small window called the 0 hour. Okay, so 0 hour starts immediately out of the question hour and lasts until the agenda for the day. Okay, regular business of the house. Okay, perfect. Who was that who mentioned agenda, the exact term? So the regular business is your agenda. Okay, so in other words, the time gap between your question hour and the agenda is known as your 0 hour. It is an Indian innovation, okay, in the field of parliamentary procedures. So 0 hour is Indian innovation. How do you remember this? 0 is India's innovation only, right? Okay. Now again, you have a lot of these motions, right? What is a motion? See, any sort of important discussion, okay, a discussion on an important matter, okay, you sort of can introduce that by making a motion. Think of them as match the following. Okay, if you have match the following, if I tell you, okay, there is something called substantive motion. If I tell you what is substitute motion, what is your subsidiary motion, what is your ancillary motion, what are superseding motions, what are amendments? For all of these things, if you can just read this and be able to tell, okay, this is what a substantive motion is. Okay, even if you can think of it as a match the following, okay, that will do. Okay, that will do. So what is your substantive motion? Okay, basically self-contained independent proposal dealing with a very important matter. Okay, substantive motion. Substitute motion, what are we talking about? So original motion proposing an alternative to it. Subsidiary motion sort of some other more motions. Okay, so think about like another 3-4 motions. Okay, it has no meaning by itself, cannot stay the decision of the house without reference to the original motion. Now you have ancillary motion, a regular way of proceeding with certain kind of businesses. Okay, regular way of proceeding with certain kind of businesses. Superseding motion. Okay, superseding an issue. Amendment, to modify or substitute, okay, your original one, then you can go with amendment sort of a motion. So again, a member is going to call for, this motion, that motion. You have to know which one exactly it is. But there is training for members who get elected. Okay, how do we get things done? So all of them will be quite proficient. What is a closure motion? Do you know what is a closure motion? When is it? Can you somebody tell me when is it applicable?
Generally used to cut short a debate a particular
Your
matter.
voice is.
Is used to cut short a debate a particular matter.
Okay, great.
And
okay.
put on a immediately, kind of.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So it is a motion, that's Priya, right? Okay, great. It is a motion moved by a member to cut short the debate on a matter before the house. Okay, we've debated sort of enough, I guess. Why don't we just go ahead with, going for a vote to cut short the debate? Okay, we've debated enough. Okay, I'm going to talk about, let us say that, we are on opposite ends. I'm going to keep making the point that says that agricultural, that the new bills that have come out are the greatest thing ever for India. You're going to be like, hey, no, these are not the greatest thing ever. Okay, if they are the greatest thing ever, why aren't the farmers agreeing? Then I'll go ahead and say, no, the farmers, there are certain farmers that agree, there are certain farmers who don't. Okay, the bigger farmers, I keep making my points, you keep making your points. After a point, we've realized that I'm now going to come halfway, you're not going to come halfway, no, we're not going to meet anywhere. Okay, why don't we just take a vote? Obviously, I might be just one voice, whereas you guys are much, much more than that. So what is going to happen? You're going to outvote me on this. So enough of the debate, guys. Let's just put the matter to vote. If that is the case, what are the kind of thing that we'll do? We'll have a simple closure. What does that mean? Simple closure. Mein matter has been, sufficiently discussed. Now let's go for a vote. Simple closure. Closure by compartments. So if we are talking about a bill, so for instance, let's say there is a bill about, welfare for transgenders. Okay, and this has been introduced, something like this. If you want to sort of what kind of closure that you want, in case it is by compartment by compartment. Okay, so the clauses of the bill, okay, or some lengthy resolution. Let's take the example of a bill. They are grouped into parts, into compartments. Okay, when the debate started. Now the debate covers the part as a whole, and the entire part is put to vote. So let us say I'm talking about, just to give you an example, transgender, welfare something bill. Okay, I might talk about eligibility. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about benefits. Okay, and let's say discrimination agar hota hai, if there is discrimination, then what are the penalties? Okay, what are the punishments? Something like this. So I am going to make this a sort of a compartment. This can be another compartment. This can be another compartment. Does this make sense? This makes a lot of sense to me. For instance, instead of like talking about the whole thing, let's just talk about eligibility. You would say that, okay, transgender is a person who is like biologically transgender. Okay, so you have, you guys know about X, Y and all that chromosomes? So
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
you guys know that, right? Okay. So XX is a male or a female, XY is a male or a female.
XY is male and female.
XY is male. Is that what you're saying? And XX is? Okay, basically absence of Y makes a person female. Okay, Y has a lot to do with testosterone. Okay, testosterone in the male, androgen, certain things. Okay, so anyway, that's not so important. But I mean, these are basics. Okay, so these are, so in your every human cell, you will notice that there are many such chromosomes, and then you have sex chromosomes of 2. Okay, so this is your 23 pairs, 22 pairs, or 44, and then you have 23rd pair, which is your this one. Now let us say that this is your female, this is your male. Okay, and only biologically anybody is not this or this is going to be a transgender. What if then you say, okay, not just this is biological, okay, but this could also be somebody who does not identify themselves in the biological sex that they have been born into, right? I could be a male, okay, but in my mind I'm not a male at all. Or I could be born as a woman, okay, the physical features are a woman, okay, it is XX and all of that, okay, the ovaries and the breasts and whatnot, but however I identify myself as a male. So what is this? We have to debate this, right? Okay, because transgenders welfare ke liye, like whom are we sort of targeting? Similarly, the benefits, I will say so and so benefits, you will say no, it has to be even more than that. That is another compartment. So these are your compartments. So this is very logical, right? I hope this is sort of, this example sort of will help you remember and sort of understand the logic behind it as well. Okay, and then the kangaroo closure. Okay, so under this type, only important clauses are taken up. Okay, only the important clauses. So let us say the bill is, it is like 130 pages. 130 pages is actually quite less. Okay, some of the bills can be much longer. If that is the case, let's talk about the most important sort of clauses. Okay, and let's vote on those. Okay, for instance, this could be, even this thing could be in like, tens of hundreds of pages. Okay, but what other kind of penalties? Okay, there are monetary penalties. Okay, and there are time penalties. Okay, where you have to be in prison, jail, something like that. Okay, so something along those lines. And then finally, guillotine or guillotine. Okay, if you're French. Okay, it is one of those. It is one when the undiscussed clauses of the bill or resolution are put to vote along the with the discussed ones for want of time. Meaning, out of let's say 100 different things that you want to discuss, you've discussed 25 of them, or like let's say 75 of them. At this point, we're like, hey guys, we've discussed enough. Okay, why don't we just go ahead and not just vote on those 25 or 75, but let's vote on all 100. Are you for it? Are you against it? Ayes. Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, now it has been passed with a majority of so and so in Lok Sabha. It has been going to be passed on to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is passed. Then it goes on to the president. The president accepts it, or what is the technical term for it? Gives assent. If that happens, then what happens? Then we can say the Transgender Welfare Bill has become Transgender Welfare Act. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Do you feel like, you're ready to make some legislature, I mean, some bills to acts and all, or be able to sort of analyze these things. See, some bills and acts a little more in detail. You can see them in this website called PRS India. Have you guys, do you guys know about this website? It stands for, PRS stands for, I forget. But anyway, so this is a good link. You guys can take a look at this. So in fact, they have this annual and monthly a document called policy review or something like this. Okay, or it might be, exact term I don't remember, but they have these annual and sort of monthly policy reviews in which they talk about the pros and cons of many of these sort of bills that are there. Okay, so they act from outside. Okay, so for instance, they help scrutinize. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. The reason I'm giving you this thing is that not because you should go and read all of these. Okay, you may not have time for it, but just in case you want to see what exactly is a bill like. Okay, how exactly do they provide the highlights of the bill? Are they talking about the pros or the cons? Okay, so some ideas like this. Okay, so in fact, they provide good amount of scrutiny of these bills. So that is always useful. In fact, some of the members from your PRS India, they actually write op-eds in your newspaper, Hindu newspaper. What is the newspaper that you guys read most? Hindu, Indian Express, the New Indian Express, Deccan Herald, Hindustan Times. What do you guys generally go for?
The Hindu, sir.
The Hindu.
The Hindu. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Okay, some more. Privilege motion, calling attention motion. See, what is privilege motion? It is concerned with the breach of parliamentary privileges by a minister. So meaning you've done something, okay, that is unbecoming of, the standards that are set for a minister. What would that mean? It is moved by a member when he feels that the minister has committed a breach of privilege, right? Okay. How so? Maybe you have withheld facts. You, as part of the executive, have certain better knowledge about your area, your department, your ministry than I will. But however, if you withhold some facts, okay, or you give me some sort of wrong facts, okay, or distorted facts, either in a start question, unstart question, short notice sort of question, okay, that means you have breached the privilege, the parliamentary privilege. So that means what? You have to be censured. Okay, you have to be censured. Censured means what? Shame on you, this sort of thing. It does not mean that your sort of government is going to fall. Have you guys heard of privilege motion? Have you come across that? You guys are readers of the Hindu, right? No? Okay, so for instance, again, not to dwell on the politics behind this, but Congress party, or not, I guess Congress, okay? So this Congress party, they moved a motion against a minister of state, I believe it was, okay? Not minister, the minister of state for health, okay? Saying that that person has misled answers on COVID deaths, okay? And in fact, and this happened in Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha chairman, who is the Rajya Sabha chairman? The Vice President of India, Venkaiah Naidu. So he basically told the House, Rajya Sabha, that he is considering a privilege motion, and this was passed by, or it was requested by K.C. Venugopal, right, against the Minister of State. Okay, Bharti Pawar, I guess, Bharti Praveen Pawar, right, for misleading answer that no COVID deaths took place in India. Okay, during that period when we had a lot of these deaths took place because of oxygen shortage. Okay, but then no COVID deaths, COVID-19 deaths due to oxygen shortage. Now that thing, okay, so they have actually sort of gone for a privilege motion. Is that true? Can we say that that is the truth? Okay, I don't think we need official reports to find out or to know that, you know, because of oxygen shortage, you know, oxygen, you know, there was a lot of oxygen, can't speak today, sorry. Oxygen shortage was there in the months, and after that I think they came out with this green rail or green express or something like that, right, where from the production of oxygen all the way till different cities and all of that, right? And they sort of relax the rules to sort of bring in more oxygen concentrators. Whole lot of things were happening. So during this time period, for sort of quote unquote misleading the parliament, okay, by, you know, sort of withholding facts or giving wrong or distorted facts, that you know, deaths due to shortage of oxygen in the country during the second COVID-19 wave did not take place, something along those lines. Privilege motion was in sort of in the news. Okay, so you will see these things. So connected to what is happening around you. Do you know where which page will you see all of these in the newspaper? These kinds of news?
The news section.
In the Hindu, which page would you say?
There's a section called the news.
Is that the front page are you talking about, or
Not the front, it's in the middle.
before your editorial and op-ed?
Yeah.
So generally see, okay, so the way it is, these sort of things will make it to the very front page. Okay, so they will mention privilege motion, blah blah blah, K.C. Venugopal, something something, continued on page, you know, something something. Okay, you will see a lot of this, but a lot of your front page news is political news. Okay, political stuff is generally, you know, hot potato, right? So that sells. So that will be your front page. A lot of you might be skipping your front page, right? Front page mein bahut sara political news hota hai, so I'm not going to read it. Do you guys do that? If that is the case, just, you know, go through what these are, and if you see something that we have discussed in class or what you have already seen in your Laxmikanth, connect it to these sort of aspects. Okay, make a note. Sometime you might be able to use it somewhere as well. Okay. I generally used to make my own current affair notes because I had difficulty in sort of remembering something, you know, these notes that are made by these monthly, and which are absolutely great. Okay, like my notes are not as great as, you know, either your vision or what is it they use, Rao's, or I'm not sure what else is in the market today. Okay, I just don't know what is the greatest. Okay, what is the best? But generally there are some things that generally people go for. Okay, it'll not be, but it'll be more so something that I know I will use. So the usability factor for me is quite a bit. Okay, and when I have written down these things, I tend to remember it more. But again, you know, depending upon what, you know, your time, pros and cons, you know, you'll have to take a call. Okay, so anyway, if you find something useful, you can always make a note, because you will not find these things in your monthly booklets. But adding these sort of examples will really sort of make your answers stand out when it comes to mains. Okay, but forget mains right now. Okay, let's focus on your prelims. So it is introduced calling attention motion. It is introduced in the parliament by a member to call attention of a minister to a matter of urgent public importance. Calling attention to a matter of urgent public importance and to seek an authoritative statement from him on that matter. Like the 0 hour, it is also an Indian innovation. Okay, and it has been, you know, part of the parliamentary procedures in 1954. The other one was 1962, right? And it is mentioned in your rules of procedure. Okay, tiny sort of details. What is an adjournment motion? Adjournment that we talked about, that the speaker does, and adjournment motion are sort of different. Okay, they're sort of different. Okay, so adjournment motion. By the way, can you tell me 3 motions, even before I cover it in class? Can you tell me motions that can be only in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha? Anybody?
No confidence motion.
No confidence motion. Excellent. Anything else? Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, so we will cover those. Then you have basically adjournment motion, motion, and then the third one is going to be your censure. Okay, I basically remember it as ACN. Okay, you can make it a CAN, much easier to remember, but ACN for me is like action. Action कहाँ पे होता है? Lok Sabha. Okay, but the logic is much easier for you to remember. So even if you don't remember these sort of acronyms or these tips and tricks, right, you may not remember, right? But still, where exactly no confidence motion can be, okay, because the ministers are responsible to the Lok Sabha, right? So in case you want to move, sort of see whether they still command the confidence of the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers, then you have to do this in your Lok Sabha only. Censure, same thing again, it's about Council of Ministers, but it can be like individual minister, it could be the entire group of ministers, it could be part of the ministers, whatever it is. Okay, and then adjournment motion, we'll take a look at what exactly it is. Now, just note this. It is introduced in the parliament to draw attention of the house to a definite matter of urgent public importance. Now, have we seen this before?
Calling attention motion.
Exactly. So the same thing that we saw in calling attention motion. However, what is the difference here? See, it requires a support of 50 members to be admitted. Okay, it's an extraordinary device and it involves an element of censure against the government. Okay, so I'm going to say 50 members, okay, plus an element of censure. So in that one, I'm probably going to bring something of public importance that I want to know, or the country needs to know, the nation needs to know, right? As Arnab Goswami says it, right? I'm borrowing his words here, but this one is more about a little censure. Okay, censure is, a little bit of shaming, okay, or sort of questioning them. Okay, so very similar, but just remember that there are subtle differences that you have to remember. Okay, so that is that. Censure. Okay, I'll just put it as disapproval. Okay, all right. And hence, this is not permitted in Rajya Sabha. Not in Rajya Sabha. Okay, because this is against the government executive. Okay, the discussion on an adjournment motion should last for not less than 2.5 hours. Okay, this 2.5 hours. Okay, so the right to move a motion for adjournment of business, there are some rules. It has to raise a matter which is definite, factual, urgent, or it's about public importance. It should not cover more than one matter. Okay, we have fixed like one particular item. It should be restricted to a specific matter of recent occurrence. Okay, it should not raise a question of privilege. Okay, is that for that? If that is the case, then we have privilege motion for that. Use that instead. It should not revive a discussion on something that has already been discussed. Okay, it should not deal with any matter that is under, adjudication. So if it is sub judice, okay, we don't know yet. Okay, let us wait for the court. Let's not bring this up here. Okay, and it should not raise any question that can be raised on any of the many different sort of distinct motions that we've just come across. What are the motions? You had your privilege motion, you had your calling attention motion, you had your closure motion, simple closure, closure by compartment, kangaroo motion, guillotine, right? Substitute motion, substantive motion, subsidiary motion, whole lot of those things. If it is not part of any of these, then you can go ahead and call for an adjournment motion. The most important thing that you want to remember that it has to be in the Lok Sabha only, ACN. Okay, or however you want to remember it. Okay, and then 50 members minimum, and it is something about censuring. Okay, a strong sort of a disapproval from on okay, of the government has behaved, or the government activities. Okay, now Sulpa fast will go. Okay, so no confidence motion. So what is non-confidence motion? See, no confidence motion. The Constitution may, Article 75 says that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. You guys remember this, right? So, oopsie. So we had this, right? You had, press, you had CM, you had your Council of Ministers. Now these guys, okay, the Council of Ministers, they are responsible to whom? The Lok Sabha. So it means that the ministry, okay, it gets to stay in office as the executive, as the government, so long as it enjoys the confidence of the majority of the members of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so if these guys are okay with these guys continuing, great. So the Lok Sabha can remove the ministry from office by passing a no confidence motion. So if this has been passed, so what happens if this is passed? If NCM is passed, what would happen?
Ministry comes to an end.
Yeah, so or if, can I say, government falls. Okay, exactly. Okay, so that's what it means. Now for introduction, you need like 50 members, certain technicalities, just remember some of these. Okay, and then then confidence. Okay, just keep that. What about censure? What did I say is censure? What does censure mean?
Disapproval.
So disapproval. So for disapproving what the government is doing, there are a couple of things that we can do. One could be your censure. The other one could be your no confidence motion. And the difference is here that it should state the reasons for its adoption, censure motion. I am saying that I am disapproving of whatever the government has been doing for so and so reason. Okay, utter lack of responsibility. You must hear it in parliament. Okay, the opposition, especially the opposition that do a very good job of holding the government to account, they'll come out with sort of such terms. Okay, but however, in no confidence motion, I don't need any reason. My only reason is that I don't believe you command the support that you need from the Lok Sabha. Okay, it is not. It does not matter what you're doing or what you're not doing. Okay, I don't believe you have the numbers anymore. Why don't we just test it? Let's go ahead and test it. If you do not have the numbers, what happens? The government falls. Ismay, again, just try to sort of connect these things with your horse trading. Horse trading as in, sometimes MLA sort of shift, right? Or some of them want to leave the party. Just think about some examples, okay? Jyotiraditya Scindia. Or, I think this has happened quite a bit in your own sort of your assembly, right? Maybe you can go back and try to see what happens. Or sometimes this works out great. Governments fall, governments change. Sometimes it could be a case like Sachin Pilot. Okay, do you guys know about these incidents? Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan, he tried to sort of, he was number 2, there was a number 1, Ashok Gehlot, and he had a whole lot of MLAs. Ashok Gehlot had a number of MLAs. When he came out, he could not muster up a certain amount of numbers with him that maybe the opposition party would be happy to take him in, okay, and topple the government, or it could be that he really had some bargaining power, but apparently this one was not the same as Jyotiraditya Scindia. He had enough numbers that if, provided to BJP, the Congress government can come down. I believe it was Kamal Nath who was the CM at that particular point, and then it became the current CM. Unable to recall his name. Okay, all right. So it can be moved against an individual minister or an entire group of ministers, and this is against the entire council of ministers. I do not believe that the council of ministers do have the confidence. They do not enjoy the confidence of the Lok Sabha. That's all I want to test. Okay, it is moved for censuring the Council of Ministers for specific policies and actions. This is not for specific policies. Do I believe that you guys have the required support? Into 90, somewhere I don't remember, 98 or something like this. It's all hazy right now. Okay, because memory is not so great, and it's been a while since I read this thing. Jayalalitha was part of the NDA. Right, AIDMK was part of the NDA, and then she decided to sort of, pull the support, and the NDA government could not muster up the numbers, and they had to fall. But however, I think it was a time in which they had Pokhran in 1998, in which you had Pokhran, in which we tested nuclear, and then we went, we became a nuclear country, apart from 1974 Wala incident. Okay, and then you also had your 99 Kargil. So this later brought them with a higher majority that it did not require, I guess, that sort of a support, something along those lines. Okay, try to see if you can connect this, sort of have it. Okay, so if it is passed in the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers need not resign from the office. So this is okay. Okay, we have been, officially disapproved. Here it is removed. Okay. Do you guys get the difference? Gotaita? So disapproved and removed. Okay, so which one is more powerful as an instrument for the opposition? Which one will you, if you're in the government, be, I guess a little scared of?
No confidence.
No confidence motion.
Okay, because you will be brought down. Done. Okay, your job is done. Okay, you're probably going to go with, it's going to be a change of government and a whole lot of things that are going to change. Okay, here it just means that, okay, maybe you can come back, right? You can come back by making amends. Okay, just trying to say that, okay, we were wrong. All right, guys, so that brings us to the close of our video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you found the video to be useful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the very next video.